In today's live stream, we're going to be taking a look at these new portable lights from Ulanzi. I say new, they're relatively new. They're certainly new to me. I've just picked up some of the lights and accessories, actually for a course that I'm doing about studio build. So I wanted some little small lights to demonstrate some of the principles with. So that's what we're going to do, and I'll just get straight on into it then. So this is the Ulanzi L024, and this is, as you can see by the sort of coloured image on the side there, it's a 40 watt, but it's also an RGB light as well. So I'll talk about the specs in the moment. There are links to all of the things that I'm talking about. There are affiliate links, by the way, down in the description. Although this isn't a sponsored video by Ulanzi or anything like that, I've just purchased all of these recently. I just need to shut down my YouTube. Just realised I got my own video open. That would have been not good. So there is two variants of this light available. One is the RGB light that I was just showing you, but then there is another version, and I can just show you that on screen at the moment. So this is the L024 40 watt RGB, and then there is also this one, the L023, which is a 40 watt, and you can change the light temperature, but it's basically just a white light. You can see the price here. I'll talk about pricing in a moment, but this one, $69.95 starting if you just buy just the light alone. And this one, the RGB, is $99.95. Let's call it $100 starting price there as well. So I'll talk about these variations in a moment. But I do really like the small form factor as a sort of portable light. If you are doing any sort of shooting on location or anything like that, or maybe you just want to have a sort of portable setup, then this is a really nice option. I do just want to mention another light though, which I'm not going to cover today. I did do a video all about this, and you can find a link to that down in the description as well, which is this one, the Zhuyin M20C, which is also a little colored light, and this is a 20 watt, but when you take it out of its case, it's really just basically a tiny light the size of some post-its. So I really like this light, but there are some things that the Ulanzi does which this one doesn't. So first of all, this is a 20 watt light, so great for a little travel option if you just want to have, you could totally use it as a key light if you are just in some hotel setup or remote setup or something like that, or a little accent light on the back. But this one, you can see the sort of size comparison of the two. This is a 40 watt, this is 20 watt. So they're about the same sort of cross section, but obviously the Ulanzi is much sort of deeper. But I'll take this off because this sort of shows part of the thing that sets this apart from the Zhuyin, and forgive the pronunciation, nobody seems to know how to pronounce that. But this is the actual unit itself. This one has an internal battery, as the Zhuyin does, but I'll stop talking about that now. I'll just focus on this. It's basically like a sort of cube, and if you want to get an idea of the size of it, I can tell you exactly. It's basically 3¼ inches sort of square in pretty much all directions. So a 3¼ inch cube, or 8.5 centimeters in all directions. But what it has on the front though is a mini Bowens mount. So Bowens mount is the sort of standard lighting attachment that you have for attaching fittings to these lights, or to any lights in fact, and these are what I use on my large softboxes that I've got up here if I come to this view. So I've got these are Nanlite. This is a 90 centimeter softbox, 3 foot, and this is a 60 watt light with a 60 centimeter or 2 foot softbox. So those all have these Bowens mounts. Well, this is what they call a mini Bowens mount. So any sort of accessories that use that size of mount, you can fit into this light. Also, there is an adapter, so if you've got a larger Bowens fixture, such as one of these other softboxes, then you could use that with this as well. But what that means is that this has got a little bit more versatility over this one, although this is a really nice little light as well. But that means you can fit all sorts of different modifiers onto the light, and that is what we term these things that you attach onto it, such as softboxes, lanterns, or whatever. So in the box though, it does come with this one. So this is, you'll find that it comes with this on. So if I just actually turn it on now, and there is a power switch on the back, it's got a 3500 milliamp hour battery in it, or 3400 I should say, and on the back then you've got, I've got to keep stopping it auto focusing on me, you've got just an on switch there, you've got then a USB-C input, and you've also got this other socket here which is for a DC input. Now you can buy an adapter for this so that you can power it from the from that rather than from USB-C, but it can totally power from USB-C as well. So you've got a choice basically of how you power it. Once you have toggled it on though, or turned the switch on, then I don't know if you're ever going to be able to see this. You'll see a little thing here which says rotate the dial to turn it on. And as I rotate the dial, it just turns on and blinds me, basically. But there you go. So that is how you turn the light on. I'm just going to turn it off for a second, though. But let me first put it here so that you can hear. There is definitely some fan noise associated with it. It's getting cut out every time the noise gate goes off on my microphone, but there is definitely a sort of audible fan noise. Now, it also comes, though, with this extra modifier just in the box. So this is kind of like a silicone thing that you can put over the top. So if you want to add a little bit of diffusion sort of out of the box, it comes with this, which is just going to soften that light a little bit more and not make it not so harsh. You have to be a little bit careful with putting this on, though, because if I can even get it on, because I mentioned there that it does have a fan in the light fitting. There are these little vent holes around the side, so you can see that that's got these little vent holes around the side. It's important that you don't have them, as I've got on this side, where they're basically covering the sort of shell here of this fitting that's on here. You need to make sure that those are open so that the airflow can flow through it, because the air does in fact flow in through here, and then it's flowing out through those vents just inside there, around the outside of the little light part. So just make sure that when you put that on, you are allowing the air to flow out, and it just needs to basically hook over the edge of that so that you can allow the air to get out. So that just adds a little bit of diffusion to it. But where this comes into its own, though, is if you want to add these other modifiers with it. So the two that I've picked up, which are actually three, I'll start with the smallest, shall I? Because that's right here on my desk. So the first thing that they've got is a set of barn doors. So I'll just show you this from this view. I've not even used this one, but this comes off like this. And then these are barn doors. So these are for basically controlling light. So with any type of lighting, it's all about not so much just the power of the light, but what you do with it and how you control it. So this is a Bowens mount as well, obviously. And then we can just drop that in there. And then we've got these barn doors on the front of it, and that allows you to basically control where the light is being directed. So if I just turn this on for a second, then this is how you would basically sort of shape that light to be pointing in a particular location. So if I wanted to just basically close off the light so it's only focusing in on just this part of the desk, for whatever reason I might want to do that, or maybe on the back wall or whatever, then that is the purpose of barn doors. Incidentally, the reason why I bought these lights is not particularly for a need in my studio, but it's for demonstrating the principles of this in my upcoming studio build masterclass. So I'll be using these smaller lights to just demonstrate the principles. But that is what barn doors are. They basically allow you to sort of close these off to direct the light or control the light so that it's not spilling out in places that you don't want it to go to. So those are the barn doors. These are all sold separately. There is a bundle that you can get. So I should probably just mention that if we go back over to the website. So we've looked at the light itself. I'll come to the specs of this in a moment. And then we've got here, these are the accessories I'm going to look at. But there is then this bundle that you can get, which is basically includes the barn doors, the two different diffusers that I'm going to talk about, the power supply, and a tripod. But just coming back to the barn door, since that's the one that I was just talking about. $9.95. So as in $9.95, $10 basically for the barn doors. I do find with Ulanzi products, one of the reasons that I'm doing this live stream this week is last week I was talking all about well, it was a Q&A, but I started talking about Ulanzi products and Ugreen products. And these are brands that I don't necessarily talk about a lot on the channel, but they make really good, solid products. And I've got lots of small sort of accessories made by Ulanzi, and I'm always really happy with the quality of them. And these are no exception, really. And yet the price is really affordable. You know, I'm sure from other manufacturers, things like this would cost a lot more generally. So I always find the prices and the quality are a really good match. So those are the barn doors then. So the next thing that we'll take a look at is the lantern style softbox. So this comes in a box like this, and it comes with a carry case. And we open this up. So this is what it looks like out of the box. Inside, you'll see that there is basically like a little hook in the bottom, just down here, and then you've got this metal prong here. And the thing is, you've basically got to try to well, I say try, it's not that difficult. You've got to just sort of push this in to sort of open it out. Am I showing you this properly? Let me try from a different angle. This might be a bit better. So I'm just going to push that down and then basically hook the metal inside into the little fitting at the bottom that you just saw there. And then it's a case of you would just sort of close these little things up here. And now we've got ourselves a little mini lantern. I always remember in one of Doc Rock's sessions a couple of years ago, Kali Alexander had one of these that was about 2 meters wide and ended up getting inside it to actually open it up, which was possibly one of the funniest things I've seen. But let me just attach this onto the front. I've just got to get there's basically little things. Oh, if I show you the right camera, it might help. There's these little notches on the edges. So there's 3 of these little notches. It's just a case of getting those aligned with the 3 little notches that there are in that mount on the front. If I put this in though, and then give it a slight little twist, now we've got a really good little softbox here, this lantern style one. And that's basically the point about using something like this over, well, first of all, the small one, it's giving you a much larger diffusion area. It's a much larger light source effectively. But you would tend to use this where you don't mind sort of giving more sort of ambient light into the room as well. So you can see how even just doing this, it's casting light onto the back wall as well. So you don't have as much control over the light, but it's obviously giving you a much more sort of diffused light. That's way too bright, by the way, for where I am in relation to it. So that was at 100%. If we take it more down to 50, you know, if I was to turn off all my other lights, then yeah, this is a really good solid light source. The power of it, you might think, well, how much light do we need in our lighting that we've got in our studios? I mean, I'm using 60-watt lights, but I've actually got my Nanlite lights on. There's a setting where the fans don't kick in if you basically just throttle them to 50%. So I've got that setting on. So basically, although this light here is at 90%, it's 90% of 50%. So it's only at 90% of 30 watts. So actually a 40-watt light is really more than capable. And it would be interesting, and I probably will do it at some point, is just get the adapter for the small Bowens mount to go to the larger Bowens mount to then be able to just put a much larger, you know, softbox on it, because yeah, the amount of light that you're getting out of this is really quite significant. So that is the lantern style, but I mean, it's so I can't say having, you know, these large lights in my studio how kind of cute and compact this this whole thing is and this setup is. So let me just turn these down a little bit. In fact, I'll switch it off for the moment. So let me just take this one off now. As you can see, really easy for this to just set up. It just literally, you just sort of pop it in, and then the same with taking it down. If I just pop this in like this, that is now released the thing at the bottom, and now it will fold down. You're always limited in terms of size to the diameter of the Bowens mount. So, you know, that is, what is that? Let's take a look. It looks about 4 inches across. So yeah, 4 inches, 10 centimeters. So that is kind of like the size of it. And as I say, it packs down into that small bag, which I've dropped somewhere on the floor. So it will pack down into this bag here. In terms of the price of this one, if we just take a look at the site again, it's this one. So $25. So that's like on top of the light, obviously. So if you buy those, then that's from the site is $25. They always seem to have special offers on Ulanzi as well. So not only, you know, if you sign up for a membership, then you get 5% off when you join. And there's always seems to be special offers going on. It's one of these companies that seems to have perpetual reasons for sales. So make of that what you will. But there you go. They also do free shipping as well, so that over a certain amount. So if you buy a light and one of these soft boxes, then shipping is generally free. So let's take a look at the next one then. This is slightly more complicated to set up. Not that much though, really. But this is what we're going to look at here is this one, which is if you want a little bit more direction with your light and have more control over it. So in the same way that these soft boxes that I've got up here, these are basically just pointing at me. And you can see here the work that goes on with this grid on the front. So when you're looking directly into it, as the camera that you're looking at now, you know, obviously you can see the whole of the light. Whereas you'll notice that this light up here you almost can't see the light source. It's just sort of emanating out, and that's because it's got this grid on which directs the light at me, and that's why you get this much better effect on the back wall rather than if the back wall was flooded with light, because I'm kind of controlling the light. But anyway, let's take a look at this one then. So similar sort of packaging. It's a little bit more bulky because of the Bowens mount is obviously the same size on the end, but it's just a much wider thing because of the nature of the way the light sort of pops out. But if I tell you how big this is more like sort of 6 inches across, 5.5, something like that, 14 centimeters. And this one folds out like this. You've got these little locks on here, so there's these little catches, and basically you're sort of folding out these, and as I fold it out, you'll see that this little catch just sort of pings as it clicks into place. I always tend to open these out sort of doing opposite sides, first of all, to sort of put in the tension, and then sort of fill in the gaps around it. But now as I sort of pull these others out and they lock into place, then we've now got ourselves our little diffuser there, a little sort of cone rather, not diffuser. And so there you can see the shape of it, and then that would fit on the light in exactly the same way as the other did. And I'm going to put this on the light first before I put the other components in, because it's easier for me to actually align it and get it all put in there. So that's how it looks on the front of the light. But the next part, though, is to actually add in the diffusion. So obviously this is just directing the light with the reflector. But the next part then is adding in the sort of diffusion part of it. And so in the bag we've got 2 extra things. Well, 3. There's always instructions, isn't there? But there's these 2 bags, and there's actually 2 elements. It's interesting. This. Maybe it is, maybe to me as a geek. There's 2 little elements. So the first one is there's almost like this second layer of diffusion. And if you look inside, as well as having Velcro all around the outside, there's these little tabs just inside here. And basically you can use the Velcro strip on this little square here to add in that inside. And I guess that's just adding sort of like a little extra element of diffusion, because that's what these things are intended to do, is basically spread the light. So instead of having a small little point light source in the bottom, you've just got a much larger area, whatever the area of this is. But then the next part then is the main diffuser. So if I just show you this, I'll come to my top down maybe. This is just going to, you've got the Velcro all the way around. So you want to put that sort of at the bottom of that Velcro strip, so there's still more space up above it, and we'll come to that in a moment. So I'm just going to pop that all the way around the edge there. And then now you can see we've got our diffuser in place. If I turn to the right camera, we've got a diffuser in place in the front. But we've got this gap here at the front, and that is for this thing, which is that the egg crate. Or crate. It's not, no eggs involved. Here you go. So this is this sort of thing that goes in the front, and you can see the sort of form of that. It's just basically this sort of these strips that are all stuck together, so that when you put it in, it creates this effect of having this direction to the light, as you'll see in just a moment when I stick it in all the way around. That's a little bit. There we go. You could spend a bit of time getting this neater, but I will leave it like that. So there you go. You can see that we've now got that in there, and you can all see the effect of it already. If I turn this on its side, then you're not seeing the front of that diffusion. That means that you know, the light would not be spilling out in that direction for you. So let me just turn it up a little bit, and then you'll see what I mean. So like if I put that light there, you're not seeing any light whatsoever. Probably need to just give a bit more light out of it. You're not really seeing any light come out of it, apart from just some slight reflection on that. But as soon as I turn it into the light, or into the camera rather, that's when you're seeing it. So this is how you basically control light in the in a studio. That's why, as I say, you're not seeing loads of light on the back wall there, but there's lots of light coming onto me. So a really good compact little light, and you know, you could certainly have this as a mobile setup if you were doing some mobile filming, not in a studio. Then just having this as, you know, even just a handheld light. It's not very heavy at all. There is, in fact, I didn't get one of these because I don't see the use for it for me personally. However, there is You can buy it separately, or it's in this combo set here. There is like a handheld thing, so it's basically a hand grip for the light, which then also has a light stand attachment on the bottom of it. So you could either, if you were having somebody holding these, maybe outside or something like that, or inside where you're just sort of walking around, then it's got a hand grip, but you can always just drop it onto the top of a light stand afterwards. I just didn't have the need for that. So that is the softbox with the grid on the front there to give a little bit more direction. Just coming to some of these accessories and talking about the pricing of these. If we come back to that main light, I mentioned about how you can power it from USB-C or from the DC power brick that you can have as an optional extra. Just looking at the pricing, if you just buy the light on its own, the price is basically $100. If you add in a power brick, it seems to add $20 to the price. Now, I did buy one of these just so that I've got one and I can put it in different places in my studio. But actually, you could totally just go and buy a generic one, because with any of these kind of power bricks, as long as you get something that is providing the right power in DC, and then also the right polarity, it's not like there's anything special about this. It's not a proprietary lock or plug or anything like that. So it's just a DC power adapter, 19 volts, 3.42 amps output with the particular head it's got on it, and I'm sure you could pick up another one of these anywhere else. It does seem for the price, $20 is probably a little bit too much for that in particular. Having just said how great Ulanzi prices are, but this is just some off the shelf thing. It's not not some Ulanzi branded specific thing. But also, you could just power it from USB-C as well. I wanted the power brick because where I do power stuff in the studio, I've got so many USB-C things all over the place. I thought actually it would be quite useful to just have something with its own dedicated power instead of trying to find another USB-C outlet to plug it into. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Although if you get it as part of a like a bundle with other things, then maybe that might be a time to consider that. With the power, there is something else about this. I say it's a 40-watt light. It does actually have this thing they call overclocking, where in theory, not in theory, they have this thing called overclocking, where it can go up to 50 watts. The only thing about that is you can't do it when it's powered by either the USB-C or the power brick, which kind of seems a little bit odd to me. I don't know why that would be, or whether it's just that it can only do it for a limited time, and so they want it dictated by the time it takes to drain down the 3,400 milliamp hour battery. I'm not sure. But the way to do that is when you turn it on, you've got these two things on the back, and I'll come on to some more of the features of the lights because I haven't really talked about those yet. But it's got this thing here where if you basically just press and hold the thing, where we're adjusting, let me say that again. On the back here, let me show you rather than telling you. It's a bit stupid. Here you can see that or maybe you can't see that. Is that showing up? Maybe I'll try doing it with the top-down camera. That might show up a little bit better, or maybe not. Okay, well, on the screen, it shows you. I wonder if they got a little thing of it on the website. That might be a bit better to show you there, because you'll see what the display looks like. No, they haven't. So anyway, on the front of it, it tells you the brightness in percent, basically. However, if you press and hold this second button here, then that brightness figure will sort of jump from 100% to 101, and then at that point you can overclock it and go up to 125. So that's getting you from the 40 watt up to the 50 watt. So if you did need that, then you've got it there. But it doesn't work if it's on power from either the USB-C or the DC there. So just something to bear in mind. I'll come on to some of the specifics in terms of the color settings. It's got all of these sort of effects as a lot of these sorts of lights do, but I'll just have a quick check-in with the chat before I proceed onwards. Hello, George. I will say a formal hello to Discord, to Discord, to Keely, having basically ignored her in the Discord. Hey, Parker, how are you doing as well? And David, lovely to know who is all going to Creator Camp this year from Ecamm, if you're all returning. Mark as well, welcome, and welcome in the backstage as well. Great to have you here and in the academy. And Michael, love the lantern softbox, the bigger one for food photography, lights up the dish, soft wrap around the table, and adds lights to parts of the restaurant. Yeah, so with the lanterns, that's exactly right. It's, you know, it gives you a lot more sort of ambient light as well as light on the subject. It also gives more ambient light as well. So yeah, they're great for that. In what situation would you choose the reflector domey thing with the rubber topper versus the softbox and egg crate? So it's basically the size of the diffusion. So if you've got this one, by comparison to the rubber one that comes with it, you can see the light source is just a lot smaller. Now, in theory, you know, the larger the surface area is, the softer the light is going to be, and so it's going to be a more sort of natural looking light source, rather than obviously if you had like a really small tiny point light, then it would tend to be you know, a really sort of harsh looking light. So if I take something that is a really bright light like this, I'll just get it out of my wallet. If I take a little light source like this and shine that on me, it's really bright, but there's no sort of spread of it, and so it's a really harsh looking light because it's so you know, it's such a small point. So the idea of these is to basically spread out the light, make it more, give you a softer look on your face rather than being so harsh. So that is why you would use a larger source. The question then is whether you would use something like this with the crate on it versus the other one which I showed, which I've stupidly collapsed down. But why would you use that one? So the lantern style one. Well, that comes down to if you want to actually control more of the light on the background. It may well be actually, you know, this one is technically more, well, I always say these things like it's not obvious, but obviously this one is more compact when it's put down, and it's going to give you the same sort of large light source, but if you're not bothered about blocking the light from the back, you know, the black wall like I am here, you know, this is still giving you the large source. They're both the same size. It's just that this one, with this one, the light will spill out of the back. I suppose technically there's slightly less light coming out the front because it doesn't have the reflector in as this one does, but basically these are about the same, you know, the same sort of size. So you're still going to get that soft diffuse look with this one, but more of the light would go onto the you know, into the ambient room behind you. That may well be what you want, you know, knowing, you know, your setup at the moment, for example. You've always got a nice bright background going on where you're not like me in a darkened room with some RGB lights on the back wall. So actually something like that would could well be you know, a better option. By the way, because these are mini Bowens mounts as well, you know, if you've got some other kind of light that's got a Bowens mount on it, or ability to connect it, and you haven't got, you know, something like this, then you could always get these things from Ulanzi, which, as I say, I'm pretty impressed by the cost of them, the price point of them. And if we just go to that one with the reflector, so this one is $29.95, and this one here, the lantern one, is $24.95. So they're pretty reasonable as these kind of things go. And as I say, the quality of them's pretty great as well, and easy to collapse down. So this one just collapses down just like that. This one, although it's a little bit more fiddly to put up, these release catches you have on here, so this is how you would take it down. Just to excuse the Velcro sound for a moment as I take these things out. In fact, I could probably leave those in, let's see. But here, you just basically squeeze these things together, and it just releases those things. So do that all the way around. And now you've got the whole thing sort of compact there. And indeed, you can actually just leave that thing in the front if you want there. So probably the crate could be left in as well. But that just gives you an idea of the sort of relative size of them. This one's kind of more short. So this one is, the lantern style is shorter, whereas this one is obviously a bit longer, but this one is considerably sort of narrower footprint in terms of the diameter of it. But that would be, yeah, that would be where you would have something like one of these over this one is just, you know, the harshness, potential harshness of the light, but actually this gives good diffusion as well. So it's not like you've got like a tiny little point light. If space is a premium, which I know it is whenever folks are traveling. Let's have a look. Compared to the Zhuyin 60-watt light, how's the light's overall build quality, power output notwithstanding? So the build quality, I haven't got the 60-watt Zhuyin. I've got this 20-watt. The build quality it's the same. I mean, this is a plastic enclosure, but yeah, I mean, it feels solid. These certainly feel solid as well. You know, these accessories feel solid. So I'm really happy with. I feel like confident in saying, you know, pretty much all the Ulanzi things that I get tend to be, you know, really solid. So I feel like, yeah, although a lot of people may not have necessarily heard them outside of, you know, the photography and streaming space, but yeah, they make really solid products. I was really pleased with this Zhuyin though, the 20 watts that I got. I mean, this is like a really ultra portable. Just to go back to this momentarily, because it is a kind of cool light. I say that it is a you know, about the size of a post-it notes. This is an RGB panel as opposed to a cob light, so that's another distinction. This one has got this small circuit on a board here, this light panel here inside, whereas this is kind of like a complete flat panel made up of lots of LEDs. So that would be a difference between this one. This isn't the light you're talking about, Jeremy. It's another one from the same manufacturer. But yeah, to say that it's the size of a set of post-its, I don't know why they didn't put a 1/4-20 threaded hole on the actual light fitting itself, because it kind of means that you've got to use it with this cage anyway that comes with it. So at that point then it's not quite the size of a set of post-its, it's the size of whatever this is, which is not much bigger. But yeah, I think they missed a trick by not just putting a 1/4-20, but maybe they just, in terms of the size and the mounting and everything, it would have just added more bulk to it anyway. So there you go. But I like the fact that it's got this sort of magnetic front on, which means that you can add further diffusion to it by adding this thing on here. And then it's got a grid of sorts. I'm getting off topic here because I'm talking about another light, but still, it's got a grid of sorts, which is this thing. So you can see there, you can't see the light inside, but then as I turn it, you can. Probably need to turn it on. So if I turn it on like this, there we go. So there it is, sort of sideways on. The grid works best if you put the diffuser on the other side of it, rather than before the grid. So there you go. So there you don't really see the light coming out, but as I turn it, then you see it coming out the front. I mean, this packs out a huge amount of power, and then it's also got these barn doors as well, and it all just locks in magnetically. So actually, as an ultra portable light, if you were looking for a you know, like a portable key light, fill light, or whatever, you could totally use these as well. These are great sort of portable solution. If you didn't want to have the, you know, carry all the softbox. It just depends on your use case, really, what you're going to be doing with it. The trick with these is to fold the barn doors in the right order. They do have numbers on, but it helps if you actually look at them as well. So let me turn that off, and then I'll get into actually some of the features of the light, because we've talked about the hardware itself. Whoops. We've talked about the hardware itself, but we need to take a quick look at if I stack these together in the right way. There we go. Put that there. Deal with that later. Let's take a look at the features of this, because it has got a lot of similar things to all of these RGB lights. I mean, these ones behind me are that I've got with giving the wash on the back wall there. Those are Ulanzi, Nanlite Pavo Tube 6Cs. I've got some other lights that are down here. These are Nanlite Lito Light, the 5C, the small little square ones, and then obviously this one as well. They've got the same sort of effects. So when you get into these RGB lights, they tend to have the same thing. So if I just come over to here, it's probably better to just show you some of these stats. So first of all, let's just go through some of these actually, because it's quite important. The weight, the diameter, where are we now? Help if I have the right product on the screen, doesn't it? There we go, guys. So 40 watt RGB, weight is 490 grams. This is the brightness, so the lumens, 6500 Kelvin at 125%. So that is that overclocking thing it's mentioning there. So at 125% is basically at 50 watts, just to be clear about that. And then the battery, as I say, it's a 340 milliwatt hour, 3,400 rather milliwatt hour battery, and then those are the dimensions of it. a little bit clearer. And that's what you get in the box. You also get a little bag with it, which I didn't mention. And then, as it says, the charger is sold separately. That's that handle that I was talking about, so it can screw onto that, and then that will fit onto a light stand. I'll come onto light stand in a moment, because I did actually pick up one of their light stand tripods as well, which is pretty cool as well. So when it comes to the effects, the way that you switch it on, as I mentioned, is there is an on switch. So a physical switch that turns on the power to the screen. And then you've got two dials. One is for changing the brightness, and then another one is for changing the mode that you're in. So whether you're in the white light or the RGB light or the effects. So if I just turn that, the light's going to come on. So this knob on the side here, this is where you're adjusting the brightness up and down. But then if you press the other dial here, then that is where it's going to switch to RGB. So press and hold actually to switch onto the RGB mode. And then you've got a couple of things that you can change. So let me just put this on, because it would make it easier to actually see some of these things. I seem to be spending all the time putting these things up and down, but there you go. I'll just lock that into there, and we'll put this onto here as well. So here you can see we've just got a yellow light. And then if I just turn the dial here, we can change the color temperature. So it's basically going through 360 degrees, so all of the different colors of the spectrum. You can actually hear as I'm speaking. Let me just try and turn my noise gate off a minute, just so you can hear the fan noise, because there is definite fan noise with it. I mean, I'm putting the fan right up to the mic now, but that is the fan noise coming off it. I mean, I'm not hearing it. You're not. Well, you can tell me. Are you hearing that? You know, when I'm talking, does that come through as excessive fan noise in the background or not? You'll have to let me know about that. But as well as then the RGB, there is then these effects. So if I switch onto effects, and I'm not going to go through them all, but they're all the same kind of things. Like this is a fireworks effect. There is a TV, so it's supposed to emulate a sort of blinking TV in the background. This is a better one to sort of show this on. This is party mode. So the point about these is, you know, if you're doing things with film where you wanted to just have some sort of ambient light, obviously not this just directly in shot like this, but it could give the effect of these things. And I'm not going to go through them all, but they're basically the same things that are on all of these other lights. So this one is simulating a faulty light bulb, which I always find hilarious, that you would buy a a light to simulate a bad light, but there you go. Pulsing, strobe light, RGB strobe, paparazzi, and so on. So there are a whole series of these different effects, and I'll just show you them on the website. So cop car, ambulance, fire engine. Not sure what quite the difference between all of those are, depending on the country you're in, but there you go. Emergency, red flash, and so on. So you can see all of those on there. So those are different lighting effects that you've got. So in terms of the lighting range of this, if you are in the sort of white light mode, then the range is 2500 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. So 6500 is going to be the really sort of, if you think about when you go and buy light bulbs from the hardware store, then you can get either warm light or daylight, as they call them. Well, the daylight ones are going into the higher end of the spectrum, and the warm ones are going into the lower end of the spectrum there, or the temperature, not spectrum. So 2500 Kelvin is going to be a really sort of orangey, warm colored light, more like you're seeing on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to see 6500 is more like that sort of daylight quality of light. So typically my lights in the studio are set to 5600. That's where I have my light settings, and I just set all of my lights to that. And then any sort of changes that I'm making to in the studio are the lights that are on me is still that sort of natural daylight tone. And then in terms of anything else I just need to mention on here, I think that the actual ranges are the same. So I mentioned that this is the RGB model, 2500 to 6500. Let's just go quickly over to this one, which is this one doesn't have the RGB. It is considerably cheaper as well. So if you didn't need the RGB feature, you didn't need the colored feature, you just wanted it for a you know, the other lighting, then let's just have a look at that. So this one without the power adapter, which as I say is probably a bit overpriced, so this one that I've got here in my hand is basically $100, whereas if you go over to the one that's just the regular light, no RGB, then that is effectively $70, $69.95. But let's just have a look at the range. I think it is the same. So yeah, 2500 to 6500. There's lightly, let's look at the output. The output of this is 1300 and 13,150, sorry. And if we go to this one, we'll see what this is. I should have these numbers off the top of my head, shouldn't I? But I don't. So it's not, it doesn't have quite the brightness on the RGB one, which makes sense because there's also, you've got to have obviously the RGB light component on the board there. So there's more room for the white, purely white light if you are on the one that is the non-RGB. However, that said, you know, this one, if you think you may need it in the future, then this one, you know, gives you that little bit of extra versatility. Because as I say, if you're using this for a key light, you wouldn't be having this on 100%, I would not imagine, in any case. So that is that. So I'll just talk a little bit then about the tripod, which it mentions with it. And I'm actually really, I think this is such a cool tripod for the price, especially. So when you say tripod, light stand technically is what they're calling it. So here it's this MT79. So if you were to buy just the light at $100, but if you add in the MT79 light stand, it basically adds on an extra $20. And to give you a little bit of context, there is the light stand itself. Let me just take this lantern off one more time. Put this down here. Move a bit of the stuff off my desk. This is the light stand. So this is the what do they call it? MT79. Now I've got a couple of these other Ulanzi light stands. The what are these ones called? I forget the model number of these now. They always roll off the tongue. MT16. Now the thing about this is, if we just go over to these as standalone items in the Ulanzi store. So I'll go to this one here. This is if you just buy this regularly, it's $29.95. But if you buy it as an add-on with the light, then it's adding on an extra, basically an extra $22 or something like that. So you do get a big saving by buying it, you know, with the light or adding it on at the time of purchase. But even if you don't do that, even if you're just looking for a tripod, and it's called a light stand, but I reckon you could totally use it as a regular tripod. It's $29. And when you compare that to this small one that I've got here, the handheld one here, as $23, and the sort of size of it and the weight of it and the quality of it, I thought the small ones were great value, but this one, its sort of larger brother, is really good. Now, I won't go on about this one, but this is just basically a little short handheld thing. So if you're using it like that with a phone on it, you could totally use it like that, or you could have it as a sort of desktop stand like this and mount a phone on it. Actually, the reason I bought these was when I was using these lights behind me. So if I was traveling anywhere, I'd basically take a couple of these with me and a couple of the Nanlite Pavo tubes, which are a similar sort of size, similar sort of diameter as well. And then I'd use those, you know, lighting in hotels is never great, but especially not when you tend to be sitting at a desk in a hotel. Then all the light is kind of behind you. They don't have anything at the front. And so I used to have these on either side of my my laptop to just give me some light on my Zoom calls and things like that. So that was my original point of using these ones. But anyway, I digress from this thing, which is the MT79. The thing about this is, if I just sort of show you how large it is, and in order to do that, I need to just go to this camera behind me, which is about 2 meters away. But you can see how long it is. It's kind of like 1.8 meters tall, totally, I think, or something like that. I forget the exact height that it can go to, but it is actually 2.7 meters, 2.07 meters in terms of the total length of it. It's absolutely massive. You know, it's really tall because it's intended, obviously, as a light stand. So you may want to have that up high. I'll just collapse it partly, just so I can show you the tripod portion of it. It's got this sort of rotating lock here, and that unlocks the tripod section at the bottom. This thing has got a nice little way that it sort of catches in, so it does stay shut. But then I can just open this out, screw this thing back up to sort of lock it into place. And now we've got a sturdy base. And in terms of the sort of diameter of that, or the size between them, it's kind of like 0.5 meter or something. If you were to draw it as a circle, it would be about, I don't know, 2 foot or something like that in terms of the diameter of the footprint of the bottom. So imagine this being like a circle. It's going to be about 2 foot, something like that, or 1.5 foot. But when this is standing on the ground and with this opened up, then this would totally work just for, you know, a regular camera. It's pretty solid. It's obviously not as solid as, you know, a proper tripod. And I should mention another Ulanzi product. These are all listed in the description as well. This is my my tripod with a few stickers on it. But this is another Ulanzi tripod, which I'll just mention whilst we're here, because this is another good one. It's considerably heavier, though. This is the Ulanzi Ombra. $70, reduced from $89 at the moment, $69.95. They do some, you know, like carbon fiber tripods, really lightweight stuff, and they, you know, I think they're a couple of hundred or something like that. But for me, I just couldn't justify the expense of some ultra light travel tripod when I'm not really traveling that often. It is such a rarity. I tend to be using this more like in the studio or things like that, or just at home or whatever. I'm not really carrying it around. So technically it's a little bit heavier than one of these like ultra light travel tripods, but still really solidly built. And for the price, yeah, really great price. But I digress from the tripod here. This one is obviously going to be more stable when it is a proper tripod with, you know, sort of 3 legs like that. And obviously the taller it is, the further spread out the legs are. But for something in a pinch, if you're just sort of traveling around, having something like this and then just having your camera on the top, you could totally do that. But obviously it is intended for the light to fit on. So it's got on the front, on the top, it's not a ball head in terms of like that can go in multiple directions. If I just cover my eyes for a second so it focuses, you can see that you've got that thumb screw on the side there, and that basically allows you to add some sort of tilt in the direction of it, but it's only in sort of one direction. And then of course you can just turn the actual tripod itself because this is intended for lights. But if you did want to use this for something other than lights, you could totally get a you know, a little ball head and just attach it on the top. But this would just come in here like that. And then obviously you can have your diffuser on the top. So that is the mounting of it. And as I say, it can work off batteries, but you can also use the power brick. That's one reason why I did get this as well, is it gives me a little bit of extra length as well to sort of plug it in. I will be using this in my my studio, in my second set, which is kind of over here. I call it a set. It's basically another wall, another camera angle, which is why I've got my thing on a rolling rig. So that is for my upcoming, still delayed, yet to be launched new podcast. But I will be using this actually as the second light that I have on the other side for that. You can see there actually, if I just give it a little bit of a tap, you can see why. Yeah, technically you could use it for a camera, but it's never going to be as stable as a as an actual tripod. There's definitely some move into in it, because it's just obviously a long pole with just a small little platform at the bottom. Let me just come back to the chat just a second. So yeah, Keely's got the Molus 60 watt from Juyin and playing with it. Oh yeah, so you are. I've had my eye off the voice channel and now I see. There it is. Yeah, it looks about the similar sort of size, that Keely, to this in terms of the form factor. So yeah, 60 watt. I do like the Juyin stuff as well. I've actually got a Juyin gimbal just over there on the back, just sort of slightly out of shot. They make really good quality stuff as well. Yeah, that is a point actually. So having said about I was really happy with this, and this was another thing that yeah, I added for a particular use in my studio. But yeah, the comparison between this one, you are paying for the compact nature of it. I forget the exact price now. I think it's something like $120 with all the accessories, or maybe it's $120 without. I can't just remember offhand, but yeah, it is a little bit more pricey than the Ulanzi for sure. Yeah, I guess the compact nature costs more. The Ulanzi Claw ball mount. So I've mentioned about how I use a lot of Ulanzi products. This is one of them. It's this thing, the Ulanzi Claw, they call it. It's this fitting here on the end that I've put on the end of the tripod. You can get, and I think that's the one you're talking about, Jeremy, you can get ball mounts where it's like a complete fitting with the ball mount and the Ulanzi Claw on the top. But these as quick release mounts are really pretty good. So they look something like that, and then you can basically screw them to anything with a 1/4 20, and then they've just got this thing here. I haven't got anything with a fitting. Let's see. I've got another one on the end of this tripod. It's basically how I connect all of my cameras and things like that. The other part of it is missing because they're all on different devices that are spread around my studio. But basically, you just sort of squeeze the little points here, and then it's like a quick release system. There's lots of different quick release systems from all kinds of manufacturers, and it's better to, once you've figured on one, then just stick with that one, because then everything's intercompatible. That's a word, or is compatible. You don't need the inter. So there you go. Having said that, I did buy some generic ones there's light fittings that I've got around the studio that I kind of move around sometimes. And I did buy some other generic ones, which are a little bit sort of lighter weight. They're definitely lower cost as well. And they're basically these things just sort of slide out like that. And these are just sort of aluminium. So I use this for stuff that's not like camera gear that I'm going to be likely wanting to be switching between tripods, but they're fine just for like my little lights on the back there. These two on the back here, for example, are on these, so I can just easily slot them off and stick them onto some other parts for other videos and things like that I'm making. So yeah. Any type of quick release that you can get is going to be a good little addition, though, for just ease of use of all of this stuff. Let me see if there's anything else that I should mention before we move on. I will just mention once more something that I mentioned last week, and I will make a separate video about this. But in terms of like portable lights, if you're looking for a portable light specifically for like travel, then this could also be another option, because it's just a flat panel light, so it does pack pretty slim. It's also got the wider area, so you wouldn't need any extra diffusion, and then it also has a thread on the bottom, so something like that could easily sort of almost pack into a laptop case. And then you're dealing with something that's flat, powered by USB-C. They do a version of this, actually, I think, that has got a built-in battery, although I just bought the version without. So this is the Ulanzi key light. Wrong screen. This screen. There you go. So this is the Ulanzi key light. $60. Let's take a look at the brightness of this. It's the same warm to daylight, so 2500 to 9000 Kelvin, about the same. And then the brightness of it, I think the brightness is not going to be quite as much. However, let's see if I can get to find it. However, it's still, you wouldn't have it on full power in any case for using it as an actual key light. It also comes with a nice little remote, which is pretty handy as well. And it comes with a, as you can see, this tripod here, not tripod, desk mount, I should say. So it comes with the desk mount, but you could also obviously mount it onto a tripod like the one that I've just shown you as well. It would totally work with that, because it's just a 1/4 20 thing on the bottom. The magnetic remote is a nice touch. So if you're just sort of clipping that onto a desk, then it will totally fit onto that. There is a little piece of metal that it comes with, sticky back piece of metal, so that then you can basically attach the remote onto that, and it will also cunningly just attach onto the back of the light itself. So yeah, lots of options. This is officially the Give Keeley gas, because I know Keeley's planning on traveling. So the gear acquisition syndrome is real. It's just a case of deciding what is the informed decision to make. And so, yeah, thought it would be useful to mention these ones as well, just in case Keeley hasn't got enough stuff already. So if there's any questions about any of these, then let me know, and I'll just get back to my chat in a moment. This is the problem with doing these things where you don't actually plan and get things out of the boxes to begin with. You end up with a load of packaging material on your desk and then can't find your mouse. So let me just move this out of the way so I can even get to my mouse. And where are we? Can the 40 watt be a decent entry key light with the grid diffuser, having it as a dedicated studio light? Rather, it totally could, yeah. I mean, the one that I've got here in my studio, this thing here, I just realized I haven't turned off the tracking on this camera. This one up here is like 90 centimeters, so 3 foot. So it's a lot larger area, and the idea of that is it's giving a sort of softer light. This is my main sort of key light. This one on this side is the fill light, so that's intended to sort of fill in the sort of shadows that are cast by the other light. And this one could be potentially smaller. I mean, this one is 2 foot. But totally. The Ulanzi ones with those the smaller diffuser that it's got on it, you could totally use that for a video light. I mean, people do it with all sorts of much smaller than that as well lights. So you could indeed use that as a as your key light, totally. And I talk about its portability just because it is so small. That's why. But the actual size of it is kind of belies its power, really. And I guess if you think about, or if I sort of describe this in terms of the Nanlite lights that I've got, they're probably kind of like 1.5 times the width and the depth of this, and then they're about twice as long. So they're certainly more bulky, but they're 60 watt, whereas this is 40. But as I say, I'm only using, even on the key light, I'm using 90% of 30 watts. And on this one, the fill light, I'm using, I think it's maybe 50% of 30 watts, because I've throttled at half power so that the fans don't come on. So in terms of like, is 40 watt enough power? It totally is enough power, yeah. And so you could certainly use it as just a regular studio light. And as I say, you may want to use either USB-C power or get a power brick. The power brick that you can buy with it, I think you could probably just get a cheaper generic version, or just use USB-C. In terms of USB-C, it's worth mentioning that although it is a 40 watt light, it recommends that you have a power supply for the USB-C that is a minimum of, I think it says 60 watts actually, 65. There you go. So when charging the DC port or Type-C port, the max power of the light is 40 watts. So that was that thing where saying it's got that overclocking feature, but it won't work when you are plugged into power, either USB-C or the DC. But it says, please make sure your charger and charging cable support charging up to 65 watts. So yeah, you just need to make sure you wouldn't, for example, get this light, get a USB-C cable and then plug it into a little phone charger that's maybe only giving 25 watts or something like that. You'd need to have the power supply to go with it. Or the USB power to go with it. One of the things I mentioned on my last stream as well was a USB-C power brick, basically from Ugreen, that I've got, that is about, I think, 200 watt max power, and then I've got all my different things plugged into it. So yeah, if you're going to power it over USB-C, just make sure that the USB-C thing you're plugging into has enough power. That's one thing about USB-C cables. Actually, are a bit of a nightmare, because it's never necessarily clear to people whether it's a data cable or not, whether it's what's the maximum data transfer rate it's got, what's the maximum power rating. So that can be a bit of a minefield in itself, honestly. But I always just buy cables that have got power for ability to transfer lots of data and lots of power, and then I don't have to worry about, is this one going to work for this particular job. But long answer to a short question, yes, you could totally use it as as a main dedicated light. So, if there are any other questions about these Ulanzi lights, the best place to go and ask those is actually in the Discord. You can obviously leave a comment right now in the live stream, but if you're in the looking after the fact, then you can leave comments down in YouTube. I find the whole YouTube comments situation a bit of a mess. It's much better to do it in the Discord. The reason why YouTube comments are a bit of a mess is because there's no sort of easy threaded conversations, so it's really hard to sort of keep up with them all. And I honestly, I fail at keeping up with YouTube comments. Every so often I'll just try and get back on top of them, but then I get behind and can't follow conversations after the initial response to a question. So you can certainly go and drop them in the Discord, though. If you don't know your way around Discord, don't worry. There's some video onboarding to help you find your way around, and it's pretty easy to pick up as well. Also, if you need any help with this stuff sort of one-to-one, then I do offer consultations on those things as well, and you can find a link to that down in the description and on my website. And happy to have a free discovery call to figure out, if for you to figure out if I'm the person to help you with your setup and everything like that. So with that, if there are no further questions about these products, then I'll leave a link over on the left-hand side. Whoops a daisy. I've just need to do something else. What have I pressed there? That's funny. It's just gone to a completely different scene. I was just about to do a very slick thing to my outro scene there, but screwed that up somehow. Need to adjust my things. Now I've got to find in my list of scenes where indeed